There was a piece in the New York Times that was critical of the way you handled the relationship between Steve Jobs and his daughter, saying it was almost offensively in opposition to the truth. You had these long conversations with Lisa, Steve Jobs' daughter.
Yeah.
So
You're
how do you
referring to
respond
Joe
to that?
Nocera's column in the New York Times, and I'm glad you brought that up. There have been some criticisms from Mrs. Jobs and from Tim Cook, the current CEO of Apple. They hadn't seen the film, so you have to put those in one box. And then the critics themselves, the critical response has been overwhelmingly positive, but nonetheless it has been unanimous. There have been critics who found problems with it, and I'm fine with that. I thought that Joe Nocera's column was absolutely nutty. He had two problems with the movie. The first was one you just said, that something was offensively in opposition to the truth. He was referring to the fact that in reality, Lisa had been living with Steve since she was 13 years old. Not only does this movie never suggest or imply otherwise, it states directly in the climactic scene, Steve and Lisa are having an argument, and Steve is making the case that I was a better parent than you're giving me credit for, and certainly a better parent than your mother, who you're defending right now. And he has this line: "You came to me when you were 13 years old, hysterical, begging me to let you live with me." Okay? Now, presumably he's not bringing that up because his answer was, "No, you can't live with me." Okay? He's bringing it up as an example of, I've done everything you asked me to do. So I don't know where Joe Nocera got the idea that that was in opposition to the truth. And then the second problem Joe Nocera had was that apparently he interviewed Steve for about a week 27 years ago and noticed that he had a habit of saying that something was really, really neat. And not once in this movie did I have Steve Jobs say that something was really, really neat. Well, he's got me there. Not once in this movie did Steve Jobs eat a bowl of soup either, but chances are he did in his life. So I get that Joe Nocera did not enjoy himself at the movie, but the examples that he used, talk about being offensive. Joe Nocera is a brilliant political columnist, but he should read his own newspaper's film critic to get a better idea of what this movie is about. A.O. Scott will tell him what it's about in the New York Times.